Hello everyone, this is Calvin Castine. We're on Lake Street in Rouses Point, and I, like many North Country residents this morning, feel a little sadness, or maybe a great sadness, in a loss of a friend. The Anchorage Hotel on Lake Street has been a landmark, and that is really not paying it justice by calling it a landmark. It's been a big part of this Rouses Point community, and to many people the Anchorage was Rouses Point. About 4:30 this morning, from the reports that we have, fire was discovered. We're looking at the 8 o'clock results. Firemen are still here, but as you can see, the place is destroyed. Rouses Point, to many of us, will never quite be the same. We have chatted briefly with some of the firefighters here, and we were told about 3 o'clock the alarm came in. It was discovered by someone staying on the 3rd floor when the smoke alarm went off. The smoke alarm system, fire alarm system, worked very well according to what we've been told, and that's what helped prevent any loss of life. There have been a few injured firemen. We're on Academy Street right now, looking at the back near the motel area. As we were taping on Lake Street, a car pulled out with apparently some motel residents. This is the dining area where banquets and such were held, and the usual dining was held. The best guesses right now, and I guess the firemen are saying it's more than just guesses, was that it started in this area here in the kitchen area, either in the basement or in the kitchen area itself. As far as injuries right now, we know of an ankle injury, someone being treated for smoke inhalation, and someone who may have been hit when one of the hoses was turned to either a turret or something along those lines. I'm not quite sure exactly how that injury took place, but as far as we know, nothing serious, no serious injuries. Anchorage Hotel. This is the front view. Although it's impossible to save this wood structure, obviously water was not a problem. But as we were told, as we said already, when firemen arrived in the kitchen area, it was just nothing but flames. That was about 3 o'clock this morning. Anchorage Motor Inn turned into a North Country tradition by the late Percy and Rita Bosley. Still family owned by Scott and Marnie Bosley and Rita Perry.
Good afternoon on this great September 12th afternoon, Wednesday afternoon. Our focus today on what's going on here is the late Anchorage Hotel. We're going to talk about the past, the present, and the future of the hotel. And first, you always go back to the past first, obviously, they're in that order. And who better to tell us about the past of the Anchorage Hotel than our historian from the town of Champlain and the former historian for the village of Rouses Point, Peg Barcombe. And welcome to the show, Peg, and thank you very much for consenting to be with us. We're in the town office now, the town garage office here, the town offices on Route 9, just south of the village of Champlain. And Peg, how long have you been historian for the town?
Since 1984.
And how long have you been interested in history?
I think since I was born.
Oh, now you're leaving me a question, say, well, how long is that? I'd have to get your age, so we won't do that.
I'd say about 60 years.
All right, that'll... Okay, now, tell us a little bit about Peg Barcombe. Who is Peg Barcombe? Who was she, and what was she doing before she became historian?
Well, I was born here and lived here all my life.
Now, where's here? Right here in this building? Rouses Point, okay.
And now I live about 1,000 feet outside the village, but Rouses Point is still my home. And I grew up here, went to school in Rouses Point, and married Peter Barcombe in 1941. And I have 2 children. I've always been very interested in local history, not outside of our own area. So I started collecting when I was quite young, pictures and things like that. And so that's how I started to collect. And I've always been interested, and as I've got older and people have found that out, I've had a lot of help. People loan pictures and let me copy them, or if they find something, they will call and say, well, we've located something, do you want it, or do you want to buy it? And so I have about 300 postcards of Rouses Point, Champlain area. I get them by, I contact all the postcard dealers and get my name on their list, and they send cards on approval. And so I've got some from way in California and all over through the dealers. And photos, the same thing. I've got 5 or 6 big albums of photos. Some I've bought, some at sales I've seen, others at an auction. Mm-hmm. And as I said, people loan them to me. And so I've got a big collection like that. And so I'm always looking, anything that says Rouses Point, I try to get it.
Tell those people right out there, if you see something with Rouses Point, call Peg Barcombe, 297-2515. And how do I know her number so well? Let me tell you about how I know Peg Barcombe. We used to compete when we went to garage sales back before 1987, I guess it was, 88, 87, 88. Yeah. But before that, we used to compete. We'd see each other and we'd always say hello, and never really knew her very well. And she asked me to be part of her wonderful Rouse celebration, the Rouse reunion, the summer of 88. And through that, I got to be quite close with Peg, and we've about her, and we've done an awful lot of time together, talking about history, talking about Rouses Point, doing video and so forth. And as a result of that, who is better today to talk to us about the history, not only of the Anchorage, but of the family who built the Anchorage Hotel? All right? Mm-hmm. And let's start back with, am I in the right picture here in the front?
Well, if we're going to start with the way the Millards came here, we'll start at the starting of the lumber business in Rouses Point.
All right.
This was the Booth Lumber Wharfs, and this is along Lake Street behind the village offices, and along there was docks built, and the Booths got their lumber from Canada, and it all came in by boat, and then some of it was shipped out by rail to other parts of the country from Rouses Point. Some others of it was put back on other boats and taken down the lake, depending on where it was going. But they didn't have a factory. They had just changing the lumber from one place to another. So that's all they did.
So this is where many of those sailboats are today, in Gaines Marina, right across from the church, right in that day right there?
Gaines Marina north.
Okay.
All along the lake there.
All right.
And this is another view of theirs. And you can see the building, the tall building, is the Chapman Block, which was the old post office. So this gives you an idea of where you're looking at.
And that's just south of the park in the Rouses Point.
Yes, yes. So this was still booths. Now then, I don't have any pictures of the lumber yard when it belonged to the Barnes family. But the Barnes family built their factory down on Barnes Street, named for the Barneses, and it was between Barnes Street and the CN Railroad tracks. That's where they built. But they were not a very well-liked family, and it didn't prosper too well.
Right. If I could identify that for people who are not from Rouses Point, you other watchers out there, the viewers, the new Shazy hardware store is located on the corner of Lake and Barnes. So it would be behind where the Shazy hardware is.
Yeah,
okay.
Up through to the CN tracks. So then in 1884, the Millard brothers came here. And when they came here, they bought out the Barnes lumber factory. And then they added to it. They built from the D&H tracks over to Church Street, which is west.
Which is the road that goes out to the Cole Road, out to 276?
Out to Overton's Corners, yes. Well, they connected, so then they built ramps to cross the railroad tracks to connect the two lumber yards together.
You mean they drove up over the tracks?
Yeah.
Those were private ramps over the tracks?
Yes, but the railroad allowed them to do it because half of their mill was on one side of the tracks and half was on the other. So they allowed them to do that. This is another view of the Millard lumber coming in. Now when they had a good day, they brought in a good week, they brought in 50 carloads of lumber.
Logs. Or lumber and logs.
Logs and lumber,
Both.
but they got 50 carloads coming in that factory every week.
Where did they sell it?
Well, they planed and dressed a lot of the lumber, and it went all over the United States. But they were not called a lumber factory, they were called the box factory, because they built shocks. And the shocks were really knocked down crates. They'd make wooden crates, knock them down, bale them, and send them around to the stores, and then the stores would put them back together and use them. So that's really what was their big main interest. So that was called a box factory to everybody around this area. This is some of their crew. There's only one person in there that I was able to identify, and it was Tom Gibo. I picked him out because the family had a picture and he was dressed in almost the same bib overalls and so on, so it was easy to pick him out. But at the peak of the Millard business, they had 300 employees, and their payroll was $1,100 a week.
You're talking about $3.50 or 60 cents a week each person. Yeah. That's at 9 cents an hour. And this here, I counted these, by the way, and there's 67 people in this picture, only part of their employees. Right?
So then when they would have some bad times, Mr. Millard would even sell off some of his property in New Hamburg, New York, where they came from, in order to meet his payroll. A lot of people thought he was real prosperous and all, but he did have some bad times too. And so he would sell some other holdings in order to. But this is just different views of the mill. So it gives you an idea of how spread out they were.
Just a minute, we're going to get to why we're talking about the Millards and showing their background and the money they supposedly had or did have, and all the people they hired. They were very important to our story.
So then in 1892 they added another planing mill to this factory, and in 1895 there was a bad fire in the boiler room, and so they never, until the mill closed, they never had full capacity after that. They kept it going, but it didn't run at full capacity. So now this is getting to the Millards. Now the Millards came here, the two brothers from New Hamburg, New York. They were both big men, and William had a full red beard. There's men in the village yet that talk about that big red beard that Mr. Millard had. They were well liked. In everything I've read, I can't find the name of the other brother. The stories say there was two brothers, but and they were direct descendants of President Fillmore.
And this is back in the late 1800s?
Yes, yes. They came here in 1884.
84, oh, you mentioned that,
Yeah.
excuse me. Yes.
And the two brothers were here, but if one left or what, there's nothing wrote up on them to tell us what happened to that other brother. But that one stayed here, and this was the way the Anchorage looked when he built it for his home.
And that was when,
1895, right in that area.
And that before was a vacant lot.
It was a
right?
vacant lot, yeah. And according to the maps, it looks like that lot belonged to a Stearns at that time. And it was that whole corner of Lake and Academy Street. And of course, being in the lumber business, he'd saved all the best of the pine and the oak and so on, and to make this house. So he hired John B. Poirier, another Rouses Point man, to build this. And they used to brag that if you could get a steam locomotive, railroad locomotive, up on the roof, that it would hold it. He used to say he was so sure that that's how strong it was. And
you know, I think that's a very descriptive way to say how strong something was.
Yeah.
A locomotive, which is many, many tons, if you listen to our story with Oral Parsons, and if they could put that up on top, it would not crumble.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was a private home.
That was a private
just
home
for his family.
His family.
You know how big his family was by any chance?
No. It's very sketchy. You find quite a bit about him, but you don't find too much about the family as such. But there was parquet floors in there, and beautiful plaster decorations around the ceilings, which was still in there in '88 when we had the reunion, because I pointed them out to some of the Rouses.
That's why I brought up.
Decorations were so beautiful.
Why I mentioned the reunion was because so many people commented about the Anchorage when they were here. They thought it was just a lovely, lovely thing. And many of them stayed there.
Oh,
right?
Yes, as many rooms as Scott could let me have.
And if they didn't stay, they ate there.
Yes. There was so much in there that the parquet floors and that decoration, and there was light oak, clear oak wainscoting when he had it built, and so it was a beautiful building. And when I went to school, of course there was a door on the side, on the Academy Street side, that we went in, and I can remember we had a music class in there once a week. But School, yes, from school. But some of the other people have told me that were a grade or two ahead of me that they went to school for all day there, that they had their classes there all day. Now, if it was because all the rooms weren't finished in the new school, or what the reason was, I don't remember.
What year was that, in the 30s?
I was in first grade when I went there, and I was born in 24, so...
Oh, we're getting all these stories here.
At 6 to 1930.
Who owned it then?
Masonic Club.
Oh, the Masonic, all right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
So when did the Millards get rid of the building then? Do you have a date on how long they owned it? Well, don't let me interrupt your story. I just wondered if you knew at the time when there was a transition there.
I have it, but it's further in my notes.
All right, good enough.
When
All
I
right.
get to the pictures of that,
Okay.
I will have it. All right, so anyway, Mr. Millard had that, and it was just simply his home. And then he died in 1913, and at that home, he was 78 years old. And when he died, William Jr. ran the mill until 1920. And in 1921, he sold the mill. Well, what he did, he sold all the equipment, and he was a shrewd businessman because he got as much for that equipment as what they paid for it 25 years earlier. And then in 21, the Grand Trunk bought the land where the mill had been. So that was the end of the lumber business.
And then
in
they
Rouses
just tore
Point.
down everything.
Yes, and put railroad tracks. So that was the end of the lumber business in Rouses Point. So there was only the three. But then the Millards, shortly after he sold in 21, that's when he sold at the Masonic Club.
Okay.
And the Masonic Club, you asked me on the phone if I knew what they did at the Masonic Club with all those rooms. Well,
Yes.
I didn't. That's when it was the Masonic Club.
Now, is there any difference to the building here physically?
No.
Okay,
no.
just be taken. This is a
Just the
postcard.
sign is up there saying Masonic Club, which on his house it didn't.
All right. Now, these, I might add, most, if not all of these pictures are not town properties, are all Peg's
Yeah.
property in her collection. And this is the type of thing she's looking for. Postcards that would say Rouses Point here, and on the front, anything at all with Rouses Point, part of her collection.
So after you asked me last night what they did with the rest of the rooms, I found another postcard. Dear E, we are staying at this place. And it's Anchorage. But it was the Masonic Club. So they must have rented rooms.
Rooms out, okay. Maybe to Masonic people only. Who knows, huh?
I doubt. I think it was probably run as they rented rooms to anyone.
We are staying at this as pictured. Like it a whole lot.
And you know she's got an X on the front, which room she was in.
And that was the right up over the nice circular dining room that they used to have on that first floor.
Yeah.
All right, well that gives us an idea. And that was sent. We don't have a date on this. Can't see it. 1933. That's the Masonic.
Yeah. So this is the first one of the Anchorage, what it looked like when the Anchorage bought it. But in between the Anchorage and that, in 1937, the Masonic Club sold it to a Mrs. Gunhild Aberg. And she was from Miami and New York City. She kept it 2 years, and while she was there, she built the Marine Bar. And then she sold it to Joe Rallahan.
But did she run a business downstairs at the time?
Yeah.
She must have. Okay,
Yeah,
continued
yeah.
on.
And she put the bar in there, and but she only stayed 2 years. And then she sold it to Joe Rallahan, who in turn in 1960 sold it to the Bosleys.
That's Percy and Rita.
Yes.
Percy was our neighbor on Church Street, my next door neighbor. Well, yes, we were 2 lots apart, but he was my neighbor, and he worked at Pearl's department store up until then. He was a manager in Main Street in Champlain. Then he moved to Rouses Point and took over.
This is after the Bosleys added the dining room. And then they put in the first 6 motel units in 1962.
Okay, if I can interrupt you just a minute. When Percy and Rita bought this, they were very fortunate because 2 things were happening in the area that made their business exceedingly good, and they were full all the time. One was the building of the Northway, and number 2, and maybe not in that order, was the 11 Atlas missile sites. Over in Alberg, and the one in Champlain, and one in Morris, and these people stayed there and ran a tab for their room and their board and so forth, and they were full all the time, and it really helped them to pay for it.
Arist was one of their big
And Arist
helpers,
has always
too,
been,
because
yes,
there's
oh yes.
always so many people in and out of there from the cities, and they always stayed at
Right.
the Anchorage, so
So
that was always...
That's when they decided to build a motel. They were just doing so well.
Yeah, yeah. So they, of course they've added many motels since then.
Yes.
But that was the start of them. In this picture, I would like to know, maybe somebody that's going to see this will know. This is when it was Mr. Millard's house, but it's all decorated, and there's a little sign on the top of that banner that says Little Martha. Now, who Little Martha is, we have no idea. If it would have been a birthday or something, they wouldn't be having flags. And
No.
it's bunting and American flags.
You would think it'd be like a 4th of July.
But why would it say Little Martha?
Because she looked like Martha Washington.
I have no idea, but somebody may have, because, I mean, you know, this is not,
That's
there's quite
right.
a few old-timers yet that might remember and maybe can tell me what that means, but it's interesting.
Very interesting, Peg.
And this, as I said, I collect postcards, and a lot of dealers send me cards. And about 3 weeks ago, I received a packet of cards from Jim Diamond, who is a dealer, and in it was this card, very appropriate.
Can you show them how they're right from the beginning, though, and open it maybe for Calvin right here?
This way is for your name and address, and see, it also says the Anchorage.
Up here. And on the back is the place for your message. Right? And then, Peg, you can open it here. We opened it up in half.
You open it up here, and there's a picture of the Anchorage. And then Rufus King wrote about the Anchorage, a sort of a paragraph telling about what a great place it was. And of course, he was the mystery writer, our local celebrity. And then when you open it again, it's a map of Lake Champlain and Rouses Point, and I think it's bottom side up.
Okay,
That's better.
We hope we're not getting reflection here. Can you say that all right, Calvin? Calvin cast that on the camera, of course. You're watching what's going on here. Our focus today is on the Anchorage Hotel, past, present, and future. And Peg Barcombe is our special guest here at the town offices on Route 9, and we're going to be going from here over to Rouses Point, and we're going to see the site as it's being constructed now. We're going to be talking to Scott Bosley and maybe other members of the family. We're not sure. And that's very interesting. Peg showed me this last week when we were talking about her helping us out on this little travelogue about what the Anchorage was, what it is now, what it has become for Rouses Point. I think Calvin expressed it very good when he did that special, that thing, when he went there and got the fire.
Yes.
It was Rouses Point to so many people.
Yes, yes.
The first thing they thought of was the Anchorage. And,
for the weddings and the... I'd like to know how many brides threw their bouquet from that beautiful stairway.
My daughter did.
My
My
daughter
daughter, Sue,
and
your
my
daughter, yes. My daughter had her, we had a lawn reception, you know, out in front on the grass. It had been bad. It was in '76. Lovely place, and it's just lovely, across from the lake.
Well, my son was 66 and my daughter was 68.
Oh, hey, we're so pleased
Oh,
that they are rebuilding in some way. We're going to know more about that. As a matter of fact, someone who I believe was supposed to have a wedding reception there was Mary Rasco's daughter, just last month, I think it was, or in July. And they had to change it because, and Scott was very good, the whole Bosley family was very good in helping them to find other locations for those that had booked. And in the front here, Peg, you have a series of pictures that Calvin is panning. Can you give us an idea?
Of course, I have a scanner, like about everyone else. And in the morning, when I heard the fire, I jumped out of bed and dressed in a hurry and took off with my camera, of course. And so some of the pictures I took before it was daylight. I took a lot of them, and then Benny Arno, one of the firemen, took my camera, and he got inside the barricade and went up closer and got me some more real good ones that I couldn't get.
They kind of move in order here as you see more and more of the building in its final stages, to where there's only a little corner of the main building, and then the staircase that was built in the last 10 years, within the last 10 years, looking at it from the west, and then you see the lake in the background. That's all that was left, and that was the last thing to be torn down, right, Peg? And then the very vacant space with only the motel in the background. A sad picture right there.
A couple of other things that I remember. There was an Aubry girl. I don't remember. There was 3 or 4 of them that worked at different times there. Willard Aubry's sister, that was badly burned in the kitchen there when that was the Masonic Club. That's the only thing.
Like a grease fire or something?
Yeah, I think something exploded. Hot water tank or a boiler or something. I was young, but I can remember there was something there.
Do you remember ever any other fires of any consequence in that building over the years?
No.
Nothing?
No. Of course, when I went to school, my brothers, Bob and Bernie Maskell, had bicycles, but I didn't have a bicycle. But we had roller skates. And my parents lived down right in front of the state dock. And we went home for lunch. But we roller skated to school.
Oh.
And where the second house behind the Anchorage, the first one was Joe Rallahan's. And then the next house was Fred Lovell. He had a customs brokerage office on State Street behind the Holland. Well, my father worked for a contractor named Bill Mumley. He did all the village sidewalks and things. That was always his job. And my father worked for him. And when they were making sidewalks on Academy Street up from the Anchorage corner up towards Maple Street. And when they got there, he wanted red sidewalk. Mr. Lovell did. And so the village made an agreement. He told them that if he'd let them put red sidewalk, he'd pay for all the sidewalk in front of his property. So my father mixed red sidewalk. and poured it. And when we'd come down on roller skates, he didn't want it roughened. It was so slippery that if you came down that street, you almost went right out to the lake. But the curbing, I noticed the curbing is still there. They've replaced the sidewalk, but for years and years and years, that sidewalk was never cracked or nothing.
And it was red.
And it was red.
Peg, do you have much on Lovell? Do you have any things at home about Fred?
Oh, I
Lovell?
have some things.
You know, reason I recognize it is because I worked for Customs, as you know, and I have a letter opener, a brass letter opener that says Fred Lovell Incorporated or something, Customs Brokers, and I was told that he was a predecessor to A.N. Derringer. A.N. Derringer, right? And maybe I can donate that to you. It must say Rouses Point on it. I'd love to do that for you. And anybody else out there, remember, anything from Rouses Point, this lady would be very pleased to get it.
And I don't sell anything.
No, she sure don't.
Tell you that.
She gives me a thing now and then when she gets two. But let me tell you, Peg, if there's anything for the town of Champlain that you'd like, that you think she'd be interested in, check with Peg. You'd like to have that. This is her own personal collection, is Rouses Point. But for all the town of Champlain, including Rouses Point, which is in the town, you'd like to get some items. And if you have anything you'd like to donate or let her make a copy of, you'd love it. And we'll take a break and we'll be right back to you. Well, as you remember, I told you when we were at the garage, we're going to talk about the past, the present, and the future of the Anchorage right here. Scott Bosley, Peg Barcombe, and Bob Venn back with what's going on here, and we're standing in front of the motel room number 9, which was converted just after the fire into the office. And I'd like to welcome Scott, and thank you very much for Scott for agreeing to talk with us here about the Anchorage and do a special on the Anchorage. The Anchorage, as you know, is a fixture in the village of Rouses Point, the town of Champlain, and the whole county, as a matter of fact, and we've just had the whole history explained to us. Scott, tell us a little bit about the Bosley family. Where were you born and where are you from?
Well, I was born in Malone, and we moved into Champlain in 1950 or 52. My dad ran the Pearls department store, and we moved here in Rouses Point at the Anchorage in 1960.
So when your dad was in Malone, he was also with Pearls?
No, in Chattagay he first started out with.
Then he moved to Champlain and came there because he was manager.
Running the store.
And we were in the Knights of Columbus with your dad. We knew your dad. I guess we played some golf way back there in the middle and late 50s. And then, surprise upon surprise, we hear that this dry goods manager has bought himself a restaurant and a hotel. What brought this about? How did your father figure he's going to be a hotel owner?
Well, for at least 2 years, from say 1958 on, every year after the New Year's Eve party that they always came down to the Anchorage, Percy and Rita would always discuss this. And first they were going to buy it, and then they weren't going to buy it, and then Joe Relihan did want to sell, and he didn't want to sell, and then finally they bought it. He sold. Yeah.
And you told us that you were about 12 at that time, right? And then, so you weren't doing the active work in the hotel that anybody could see, or the restaurant. They had a bar. You did not have the dining room that we grew to know, right?
That was put on in 1965.
65, they added that, and that would seat about how many people?
As it was set up for normal dining, it was 78, and in banquets we could seat up to close to 100 or so.
And in the basement, you had another room down there?
Lounge downstairs.
Lounge. It was a whole about how many?
The back room held about 100, 120, and the front bar held 40 or 45 or so.
Very, very active, and Calvin on our camera is spanning because they've dug the foundation, right?
Finally,
for your new, what's it going to be called? Still the Anchorage Hotel and Restaurant?
Oh, yeah.
Same thing. You're not going to lose that name, right? All right, and from what I see, Scott, it looks like it's closer to the lake.
Yes.
Obviously it is.
It's been moved up almost 50 feet toward the lake.
And how big will this building be?
The structure itself would be 62 by 64. And everything was going to be on the ground level for now. The cellar is being completed, so it has about an 8-foot ceiling in it, so if we ever did want to go back down again in the future, we could. But
all right. And you said for now, you have any plans where this could be expanded on the front or the back or the side? There is a place that you could do that?
It's designed to, you could move it in 3 different phases, where we could go more rooms, or we could go banquet facilities, be it what may. We'll see what happens with future need, really, because we don't really know with 3 years to 5 years from now what the area is really going to need.
Right. Now, I see Jules Treyan's name on a truck. Is he your general contractor?
He's the contractor,
building
yes.
it?
Yeah.
Has he given you any date when this might be? Nothing at all. You have no idea, right?
We're just in the onset of ordering a lot of the materials, and we really have to wait and see what kind of a date they're going to get back with us on receiving the materials.
Okay. Now, Scott, when you were operating full-time and on a regular day, how many employees did you have?
17.
17 regular?
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing a lot of them were back for the motel.
Well,
or
during the summer,
kitchen?
During the summer, you have a lot of chambermaids.
Yes,
and, but there was.
All right. You added the dining room in 65. The first motel, I think Peg mentioned, you remember what you said?
62.
62. And then the big one over on the north of us?
Well, no, it's really 5 different wings.
Oh.
This part was built in 62.
Yes.
The 2-story was built in 65.
All right, along with the dining room.
Right. And the first wing of motels, the first 10, that was built in 72. Then the middle 8, the 50s, that was built in 80, I believe. And in 86, I put on the last 10.
So do you have how many units right now then?
40.
40.
Yeah.
And then after the fire, you decided to use number 9 as an office. And has that worked out satisfactorily?
That was set up before the fire was out, really.
Is that right? Very good thinking, very good. And when did you lose your dad? When did Percy pass away?
Oh, that would be 10 years ago.
It's 10 years, huh? And of course, he was a fixture here, and of course, all the friends he'd made over the years. Your dad was such a personable guy. And you know, I was thinking as I drove over here, some of the things I might mention about this Anchorage. And one of the things, and I think, Peg, we've talked about this, is that when we talk about the Anchorage and the fixture, and it was Rouses Point, and I remember once taking some pictures here, and I said, the Anchorage is gone, the Anchorage is dead, in my own movies. And I'm thinking back, and that the Anchorage, really, as we knew it and you went by it, was only mortar, stones, and wood. The real Anchorage is the Bosley family, not the building.
And
it was
the people that worked there.
And the people that worked there, right. And that will still be here. That's going to be here, and it's going to be in this new building. And I understand in your plans you've got some of the style a little bit back into to kind of remind you of the Anchorage.
It's going to have a turret back in it. It's going to have a carport like we had before. A lot of the lines, which you'll see on the drawings,
okay.
A lot of the lines are very similar. The architect's been very good about this. Before he started designing or anything, he wanted to see the old postcards. He wanted to see the old floor plans and stuff like that.
Who is your architect?
Mark Kamens out of Malone.
Kamens, and Treyan's going to do all the building. Who
Correct.
did the tearing down?
Jedco construction out of Swanton, Vermont.
And one of the problems we've heard of anybody who has, as you remember, you know some of the Peg as the, what do you do with the debris you tear down from a building? How do you destroy it? You can't throw these things in the landfill and so forth.
Sort it. That's what you do.
You have to sort it all out, right?
Yeah.
And then they brought it in different places in the landfill?
Yes.
I mean, tin is a bad one. They don't want you to put that certain
Tin,
places. And
insulation, any tar paper, anything like that has to be
Electrical
removed.
wiring.
Right. I think you told me once, Peg, when talking about this type of thing, that they wanted you to dig a hole in your own property and bury it on your own property.
Well, it wasn't me, but it was a friend of mine.
But
and she wanted to do that, but they wouldn't let her.
They didn't want it in the ground at all.
No,
Yeah,
no.
that's you're told you can't do anything with it, but they want you to do something with it. too, so.
Yeah. But what do you do with it? I mean, what
That's the whole
what do you
thing.
do with a pile of debris after a fire? What you're saying is you should have let it burn.
But then
Right.
again, for
Insurance,
safety,
yep.
insurance, you can't
Yes.
do that. And the fire chief, when he gets control of it,
Okay. Yeah.
legally he has to stop it.
Right.
And you try to go through that burn mess and separate the insulation and the wiring and so on. But you have to if you're going to
Yes.
take it to landfill. You've got to do
Well, that
it.
was pretty good though with Jedco because he does salvage, is what it is, and so it was profitable for him to remove the wiring and the copper
right.
pipes and stuff like that. So he got something out of it. And it worked for him.
Scott, just before your unfortunate incident, and then when you start, how many of the Bosleys are still active in the hotel? Your mom's still active?
My mom is here.
Yeah.
But my brother he's a chef out in Hawaii,
Yes.
and that's Michael, and Chris he's active in St. Louis,
And you have a sister in California?
California, right?
Right. And, her name, not today?
Nancy O'Loughlin.
O'Loughlin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And but is your mother active will she be active in the new restaurant and hotel?
Well,
as such?
she still takes care of the books, and she does
does?
guest work in
Okay.
the morning.
And your wife,
Somewhat.
Marnie,
Marnie, oh,
well,
yes.
will be there all the time, right?
Oh, yes.
And if you have anything planned that'd be different other than a building for your new operation, have you thought of anything? Are you going to have more room for a banquet, say, than you had before?
No, we're not designing it for any large banquets right
At this
now.
time,
We have to get going again. And
okay.
then we'll see
and then you're talking about possible extensions. All right. So I've heard a rumor. You're talking. Let me quell it or confirm it. That you're talking breakfast and lunch only, not dinners.
No, when we first bring the kitchen about, be it the amount of equipment you need to really run a good kitchen, it's going to have to start with late breakfasts and late lunches, but then we'll slowly work it into dinners.
Okay, so right in the beginning, you're not talking about dinners.
No.
All right. Okay, so that we can then, if you heard that before, that's confirmed, and if you heard something else, it's not true, right?
We will be getting into it as quick as we can.
Of
but
course.
It depends how the staffing and the equipment comes
Right.
along and everything
That,
else.
when you originally bought, did you own the property we're standing on right now, here where the motel is? That was part of it.
Yeah.
And what about the house? You live right next door now?
That's where Rita lives.
Rita lives there. Now that was not part of the property, original property.
That was Larry Cronin's originally.
And your mom and dad bought there, and that includes the land where the motel is
All
behind.
the way back goes
Okay.
506 feet back, I think it is.
Mm-hmm. And what a beautiful, look at across here, what a gorgeous day this is, and we're looking across at the lake. And I don't know if I've mentioned on camera, but my daughter Sue worked here back in the early 70s, and she has excellent memories here. She was a waitress. Huh?
Ann was married here.
Yes,
Right.
and then my son-in-law, Dan Belrose, worked here in the bar down in your, what's the bar called downstairs? The
Marine Bar.
The
yeah.
Marine Bar.
Actually,
And they met here,
They
and
met
they
here,
they
right.
courted here, and then they got married, and they had their reception here in the front lawn, and they got great memories. And not only that, but of Marnie and Scott, which they still think an awful
I'll
lot
never
of.
forget when Danny first saw your daughter walk by, he says, "Who's that?" And from there is where it, who is that?
Today he still comes over. He said, "Who's that?" Now that's what he said. You hear that, Dan, out there? Huh? All right, then not only that, but I was talking with Mary Rasco, and they had planned to have their daughter's reception here, right? So that's one of the last ones that I guess that I know of that were planned, and how things change. And you said that you had
My daughter and my daughter-in-law.
both married here, right? Or receptions
Yeah,
here,
the
right?
reception's here, yeah.
And how many? Have you any idea how many? Well, in those last 30 years?
No.
No
I
idea
wouldn't do
whatsoever. Well, I think what you should do when you're new is keep a record of these things and have one for anniversaries, one for receptions, and just list them. And why not have it? Wouldn't it be great to have that?
We do have a record book that my mother keeps year by year, but we've
Yeah?
never.
Well, put them right in
counted all
order.
up.
Well, put them right in order, the anniversaries and so forth, you know?
Some afternoon when I've got nothing to do, I'll do that.
Well, let me ask you here now, right on camera. Are you any more comfortable than you thought you were going to be doing this?
Yes,
Oh, well, I'm glad that-
You're right. You're right.
All right, I'm right. So it's because of me, correct?
I must be. I must be the winning personality. Or something.
we came in a couple times to talk to Scott when we were doing the thing for the Rouses Point, or rather the Vero Beach boys coming here. He said,
Oh, yeah.
"I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to be on camera," and that was seen all over Florida. But we didn't put that on camera. We didn't. We followed through with your wishes. But today, without you here, the Anchorage story would be nothing, Scott. And we're so glad. And we'll take a short break. You're watching What's Going On here. Bob Venn here. This is Scott Bosley and Peg Barcombe, our historian from the town of Champlain and former historian in the village of Rouses Point, and who gave us all the history up till the time that Percy, Scott's dad and mom, bought this building in 1960 from
Joe Rallahan.
Joe Rallahan. We'll be right back.
Now, Jewel.
In the background, you see some activity, and just got a whoop of joy here from Scott. Scott, what's this blue truck doing there?
Well, it's for the forums. I've been waiting for a couple days for them to be showing up, and it's kind of nice to see them pulling in.
They said they want. We called them and told them don't bring them until we get there. We wanted to get a picture of it.
Wish I would have known that.
Do you believe that?
I would, the way they just came in, yeah.
All right. Well, you were just starting to tell me a little story when we broke here. Calvin got another battery and so forth about anniversaries, and I wish you'd bring that again. Tell us that again.
Well, this year, the 8th, I just celebrated my 17th anniversary, and I was talking to the contractor, Jules Treya, on Saturday morning, and he was saying 34 years ago today was when I was here at my reception. And I
His
said,
own reception?
And I said, 17 years ago today, I was just leaving for my reception.
From this place, right?
Yeah.
You did not have your reception here, or you
No,
had? You
no,
didn't.
mine was up in St. Rose, up by wife's parents' home.
Where is
Yeah.
she from?
St. Rose, Quebec.
St. Rose, Quebec. Oh, Marnie, I didn't know Marnie was from Quebec.
Yep.
All right, so then these are the forms that are going to come, correct?
Yeah.
And,
now we start the foundation.
You'll have a bigger parking lot now? You're going to have more parking back here?
There'll be some, but I don't want to turn it all into a sea of tarmac. We want to do some landscaping in there also, maybe bring some trees back into it and landscape some grounds into it, some grass and whatnot, but that'll come after construction.
Okay, and motels had a good year this summer?
Excellent year.
Excellent
really.
year.
Yeah.
And a couple other things. Peg, you started to say something too. Peg will come back here. And you were talking about your Ralph's reunion that was so successful in '88 and what Scott did for you during that time.
Yes, I said he wasn't on camera, but between the telephone, I was on him all the time, seeing how many rooms I could get. And he let me have all the rooms that he could for that weekend. And they were filled with Rouses. And everybody is still, even the people from England and all, are still writing and saying what a wonderful reception they had and how nice the place was and everything, and they all want to come back again. So it's going to be nice they can come back to a new Anchorage.
Certainly blossomed into a lot more than what we expected at the beginning of all this. It did.
Well, when I first started it, everyone thought, you know, right up until the second year that I was on it, they thought she's talking through her hat. It'll never develop. In fact, I came in here the first year and started to talk about it, and I was sort of put on hold, you know, to see what happens. But then when I finally got to the point in the spring of '88, and I talked to Rita again, and she said, well, I'll see how many rooms Scott can let you have. So then when I talked to him on the phone and told him how many were actually coming, then they began to believe me.
We started getting phone calls. You know, after about the 300th phone call.
Day after New Year's in 1988, he got a phone call for reservations.
Yep. That was August too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, early August. You know, another thing I was just thinking, I was active in the John Zerlo Jr. and Kim Nystrom's wedding. And as I recall, I was talking to John and Mary Zerlo Sr., and they were talking about a block of rooms that some of their people had here with you, and it was just after the fire, and because of that, and there was no more restaurant to go with it, they had to cancel, and they felt so bad for you that they could cancel 8 or 10 rooms.
It wasn't a problem in the middle of summer. Like I told them, I said, don't worry about it. I said, we're going to fill up one way or the other.
But you see, I mean, how that changes. So many people's lives are changed by a thing like this, you know. Well, all right, and you have some plans that we can take a peek at to show what it's going to look like from the 4 different directions on the building and get an idea. What are you going to have for the outside? For colors or brick or?
It's probably going to be like a cedar shake.
Will it look? Will it be the dark?
Well, we're working with that.
You're still on that. Still working on that one, huh?
When it comes to colors and things like that, I usually let my wife take care of that. And right now, we're kind of going to battle over a few things.
Now you see, you say that different than I do. See, I'm not quite so diplomatic. I say my wife takes over. You say you let her do it. You see, it's a big difference there, Scott.
There is, yeah.
But it's really the same thing. She's going to take over anyway.
Well, I don't know. We always discuss everything.
All right. Boy, is he being careful. Look at Marty. Say hello to... See, Marty, he's being very careful what he says. Okay, we'll step inside. You're watching What's Going On here. Again, our focus today and tonight, and we hope you're enjoying this historical, really, building and historical moment with a brand new Anchorage building. The same Bosley family, though, and all their employees have been here. Well, who's your oldest employee with you? I don't mean oldest. With you the most, the longest.
Well, June Upton was here before we were. She used to work for Joe Relihan.
And she's still here?
Well, she was.
She was?
Now she's working down at Anktel's restaurant.
But she'll be coming, well, I'll put it this way. She was here as long as you were open?
She will.
She's just waiting for us. When are you going to get going up there? She keeps saying.
That's great.
Yeah. A lot of our employees are planning on coming back with us. Yeah.
And how many employees do you have right now?
Oh, about 7. Yeah, about 7 right now.
It must be a very trying time for you right now with all these decisions going on now, things you got to do. And you're planning for so many years in the future, right?
And you're hoping that you do it right.
And you're hoping that your offspring carry on with the
we'll see.
Anchorage?
Oh, we'll see. I'm sure my daughter just wants to, she can't wait to get, when can I do dishes over?
Twice. Then she'll say, that's enough of that, Dad. I just wanted to do them, right?
I don't know about that. She'll get right into it, I think, really.
Okay, this is Scott Bosley, the smiling face you used to see, and remember the nice service and the welcome smiles. Marnie and Scott and Rita Bosley that we saw here for over 30 years. Just about, well, I'll say 29 years anyway. 29, 30 years, right?
Yeah.
He was just a kid when he came. I told you he was 12 in 1960. I will not ask him how old he is right now, though. I'm not going to ask him. I promised I wouldn't. We'll be right back.
That sums it up nicely, doesn't it?
You saw when I showed you outside, the office is in room number 9 at the motel. Well, we're inside now, and on the back wall, the Bosleys have put up a little drawing, or a big drawing, of the proposed, not proposed, actual, right? It's actual. The way it's going, the future Anchorage. And can you explain this to us? This is my back to the lake. I'm going to be looking in this direction. Right? What do I see here? Now, this is the carport. That'll be reminiscent of the other one, right? And a little walkway to get in. And then the front is going to be all dining.
Downstairs in the turret will be office check-in for the motel.
Right.
Upstairs will be a business office. And across the front will be dining room. And the lounge will be in behind the dining room.
The lounge meaning the bar with the seating area, correct? And your kitchen will be, where do you cook in this? Now this is the back view looking forward.
This is the west view from the west.
From the west.
And the kitchen will be along this wall in here.
Okay. That'll be on the southwest corner.
Correct.
Okay. Now, a couple of things, if I might. One, this makes it very, and that phone makes it very reminiscent of home when I have to answer the phone, and now Scott's going to do the same. We're back again, and we're glad that phone is ringing and a lot of money coming in, because when we get our bill to you, we want to be able to get paid as soon as possible. You understand? Don't we wish, eh, Calvin? All right. If I can make a couple of comments. Number one, what I can see, you've put this here for reminiscence of the old. Likewise here, you've also cut out that rectangular building look that is not attractive, and this little bit right there, Scott, to me is a very nice little effect right there.
Break it up so it doesn't seem like one long
Absolutely done a good job on it. Who came up with any of these your ideas in here? You wanted a turret, or was that the?
Well, I'm working between my wife and myself, and Mark came as he's been excellent on all this, on advising us.
Right.
And he's really, it seems like every time he brings in the plans, they're on the table about 2 minutes, and then the pens come out, and he says, "You don't leave them on the table very long to talk about." So, but he's given us a lot of help in this, really.
So the roof's going to slope forward, and this also breaks it up, that little unit right there, which has no other effect other than to break it. And then this is the proposed stairway going, or there will be the stairway going into the basement.
Not really, he's just giving elevations for the cellar right there.
Oh, okay, it's just showing where the elevation, how high it's going to be. And do you have any problems with proposed water? No, you ever had any water problems in the basement, huh?
No.
Before? And this is the north view, as we stand with our back from behind us here, north, and we're looking southerly at the north here. And this is where you'll come in and walk into the entrance right here, correct, to get into your motel. Is there any front entrance? Is it all right in here, huh?
There's going to be one where the carport is,
right?
Also in the back. That'd be going into the lounge if they want to go directly into the lounge rather than...
And that'll be coming in from the back, right back in here? This it right here?
It'll be right along in this corner right
Okay,
there.
and this is looking from Academy Street. This is the kitchen area, right? And this is your dining. How many will you seat in your new...
About 70, it seems right now.
But sit about 7. Okay.
In the dining room itself.
Okay, and have you... one of your biggest customers here, regulars, is people from Arist, right? I mean, they come here lunching regularly with all their guests or sales whenever come in, right? And how big of a lunch business? You figure 70 is going to be? Well, that's what you have now, but you'll fill that up, you'll have enough?
Oh, yes,
70?
you will be able to serve lunches also in the lounge also.
Oh, all right, so you will be able to handle more.
Between the seating in the dining room and the seating in the lounge, easy 100 and some odd. Quite easy.
All right. Now, when we're thinking, again, we were just talking while you were on the phone, and there are a couple of people that I have in mind, and Calvin had in mind, that are a fixture here at the Anchorage over the years. Benny Shenver and a guy named Stoney. Tell us about those people.
Elbridge Stone. He was a jeweler, lived in Plattsburgh, and he's been with us since 1970. And
in a motel or in the hotel?
In the hotel.
In the hotel?
It was in the hotel. Now he's now has an apartment on his own ever since the fire. And he's since retired and everything. And Benny Shenver, who was a bartender, worked originally for my dad for, I don't even know when he started. I would say about 1964 or 5, right around there. And he worked right up until his retirement, which was maybe maybe about 11 years ago, I'd say.
I want to send a copy of this tape out to North Dakota to a guy named Russell Thompson. You remember Russell
I got a
Thompson?
letter. I got a 5-page letter from Russell. It's
Yeah.
more like a book or a
Yeah.
novel.
Hey, Russell, you hear this? Yes, God, I told him about
He
that.
was with us for a long
Yes,
time.
he was
too,
with the
yeah.
Food and Drug Administration. He stayed here until he came over and was here full time. He was here on a 60-day detail.
Brought me right up to date on everything that's gone on in his life since he left.
All
But
right.
it was a good hearing from him again. Really. Yeah.
Very good, and we hear from Russell regularly. And as a matter of fact, I'm planning on going out maybe in early October or November. I'm not sure yet when it will be.
Say hi when you do.
I certainly will. All right, and Scott, is there anything else that I have not covered that you can think of that you might have had in the back of your mind when we told you where we're coming that you'd like to talk about?
Not offhand. No, you've covered.
Oh, you disappoint me. I
everything.
thought you'd keep this going, or at least something. Nothing at all you can think of that we've covered about all you'd like to?
Just about, yeah.
Just about means that there's a little bit I didn't.
No.
Left it all. I will just take a break and we'll come right back and we'll get Peg back in and we'll have our final goodbyes here from, or hello to the new Anchorage, and we'd like to maybe look into the cavity out there where the those brand new forms are going to be placed. All right. He's so happy now. He's smiling. See, because those forms are here at last.
Right.
Thank you very much. We'll be right back. Just like my kids and my grandkids. There's a rule about not tying your shoes, huh? I know she's going to tie them now. Oh.
All right.
Well, we got a brand new person in the picture here. What is your name?
Megan,
Megan who?
Bosley.
Megan Bosley, I just heard someone holler down the street, hey, Dad, hi, Dad. Is this your dad right here,
Yes.
huh? And you just coming from school?
Yes.
What grade were you in?
4th.
And who's your teacher?
Mr. McDonough.
Mrs. McDonough?
Mr.
Mr. McDonough.
Tim McDonough.
Tim McDonough, the catcher. You know, my name is Bob Venn, and this is going to be on TV. All right? And you're going to see yourself on TV. Huh? Is that great?
Yes.
Yes. Even Dad was on, you know. Yeah, and he was talking. Look at him smile up there. Look, see? Huh?
The interview this afternoon.
Yes, and it's going to be on TV. So what do you think here? Are you following this, the way this is going along? You see
Yes.
the new forms just came in? Dad was so happy with. Look. Huh?
Yes.
So listen, did you know that when anybody's on my TV like this, I charge them 50 cents each?
No.
You didn't know that? Huh?
No.
You got 50 cents?
No, but I'll get it from my tooth.
You get it from your tooth?
Yes.
Well, how do you do that?
I lost my tooth today.
Oh, well, listen, why don't you give me the tooth instead of the money, and I'll put it under my pill. Maybe I'll get more than 50 cents. Huh? Well, listen, you're such a nice girl, and because you're so good to me, I won't charge you at all this time. I make an exception. All right,
All
I'll
right.
charge Dad $1. Okay?
All right.
Yeah, all right. That goes good, eh? So listen, you like school?
Yes.
What did you do all summer?
Well, I went to summer camp and
Where?
over in Grand Isle to Camp Marycrest, and I like to. It's probably about the first summer that I've had to stay with my parents since the Anchorage burned down.
That you have not stayed with them?
No, that I have.
That you
stayed.
have stayed? Where do you go every year?
Well, you.
Camp?
No, it's the first time that I ever went to camp.
Oh,
this
the
year.
first time you ever went to camp. All right, yeah. Are you the person he was saying that can't wait to wash dishes?
No.
That wasn't you, huh?
Well, I will wash dishes if he wants me to.
If you want. Oh, no, that's not what he told me. He said you're just dying to wash dishes. He said he's looking forward to it.
Yes, I will, because I want a job.
And listen, when you get the money, I'll come back and get my $50. All right?
All right.
You have him pay you an extra $50 that week, and we'll get into it.
All right.
All righty?
Yes.
And so what do you, let me just think here. What's your favorite subject in school?
I haven't really gotten a chance to learn into my subjects. We've just been doing some things about just like getting to know school and everything, but I have had a subject, and the one that I like most is spelling,
You like spelling? Well,
Yes.
that's the most important, because if you can't spell, people can't read what you're doing, right?
like my father.
Oh. Well, I have trouble, too. Listen, I
Yes.
have real trouble.
She picks on me about my
You know
spelling.
what? You're not supposed to ask young ladies or ladies how old they are, but if they're not 12 yet, it's okay to ask
I'm
them.
10.
You're 10. Well, see, you're way ahead of my question even. You're 10, huh?
Yes.
And I better not ask you who your favorite friend is because someone else is going to better not answer that. Don't answer. That's not a question. That's not a question.
I will.
No. Oh, yeah. You got a real close friend?
Lindsay Parent. She lives just up the street in the White House.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you one more. That's always a very important. Are you married?
No.
Huh?
No.
You're not married?
No.
You have a boyfriend?
No.
Oh my gosh. At 10 years old, I thought that people started looking. No?
No.
Oh no. Your best friend is Lindsay.
Yes.
Yeah, did you stay over at her house some nights? And
Yes, and she spent lots of nights at my house.
she has.
Yes.
And you don't make much noise, eh?
Well, my mom gets pretty mad at us
Oh,
when
yeah?
we...
Do you think she's got a right? You know what all this delay was for? We just went through because his battery died. It was dead, all right? And I was just asking you, when you make a lot of noise, you see your mama gets upset, your mom gets upset, and does she have a right to get upset? You think she has a right?
Yes, she does.
Because you are kind of noisy?
Yes.
But it's fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Huh? And you'll have all these nice memories, right? And then the next day it's nice and quiet and she can be happy again.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And then if it gets too noisy, she can go over and work at the hotel before, right? Now this year she couldn't, but she will when it gets built. Look.
Yes.
You know what they're doing? What's this going to be called down here?
It's gonna be the basement in the Anchorage.
That's right. That's the basement of the Anchorage. That's correct. Well, listen, you've been very good to us, and I appreciate your coming and talk to us.
Okay.
And you can watch yourself on TV. And you asked me when you're going to show this. The 23rd. We think it's the 23rd. That'll be a week from this coming Sunday, all right?
Mm-hmm.
You can watch yourself, and you can giggle. And if you make too much noise, Mom's going to say, stop that noise in there. All right? You can get Lindsay to watch it with you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say, you missed being on TV. All right? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right,
Bye.
bye-bye. All right, Scott. Well, what do you think of that interview, Scott?
Pretty good.
Yeah, well,
I think she handled herself pretty good.
I guess she did. She had me stumped there for a couple of times. She came right back with those answers, and she even gave her mother credit for being of a right to be
Smart girl.
Yes, she is. Well, listen, it's a joy. 10 years, and just one more thing. I don't want to frighten you, but many cases she's halfway on the way to being married.
Mm-hmm.
Just think.
10 years, yeah.
20 years old. A lot of them are married, Scott. It just time just flies on it, and she'll have great memories of. She'll be working. Now, give her a few months, and she'll say, "I don't think I want to do this anymore, Dad." Right? All right, Scott. Tell us what's going on down in here right now that you know of. You got the footing laid,
Right. And then they're getting ready to pour the sidewalls.
and then they're going to put all these up first, right? They have to put them on both sides, and then they'll bring the cement in the big cement truck.
Yeah, there'll be 4 pillars that they have to put up because there's going to be 2 steel beams carrying it right across.
Across this way.
Right.
All right.
Mhm.
And the other things that we can see, let's see. I was asking you as we came out that a lot of this is on what was formerly your lawn or your porch, right? Can you give us an idea where the porch was here based on this? Did you say the footing is where compared to the other?
Where the footing is now, it's 18 inches inside the old footing.
All right. And the footing means not on the porch footing, it's way back, right? The actual wall itself.
The actual wall itself. So the porch would have been about from where that footing is right there up to about where the water pipe is.
Yeah. So the front of the other building is just about this side of the footing.
Correct.
Just about this side of the footing.
Mhm.
All right. And there's the beautiful view of Lake Champlain as you sit, and you're going to be sitting in the Anchorage restaurant, having your breakfast and having your luncheon, right? And you're going to be looking out and seeing the beautiful sailboats and the new homes across on the point, and the new Korean Veterans Bridge, right? Peg, come over here and maybe you could just give us a little bit, if we've got some time, on the bridges. The first bridge was built
1937.
and that was the one that they charged money to cross, right?
Yeah.
And it's over to Calvin's left. You'll be over there shortly. And then that was there until 1987, and then they put up this new no-charge bridge.
Yeah.
And they had a celebration. As a matter of fact, they dedicated something that when the reunion was on, right?
They put the plaques.
Put the plaques up?
Got the plaques during the Rouse reunion.
Right.
And then the piers you see is the old Rutland Railroad Bridge. The rails are all gone, but there's some of the piers still there.
Right. And right at the end of that now is the Pier Restaurant.
Yes.
Mr. Lamberton is now doing that. Are you going to have to move that sign for the Anchorage, or are you going to leave right where it is?
No, it'll be
It'll
fine
be right where it is, right?
Yeah.
Because it'll still be in front of your building to be seen both ways. Do you only land across on the other side, Scott?
Well, technically you own to the high water mark, but You can't really put a permanent structure up or anything like that.
No.
So.
But could you have a seating area, say, over there, if you wanted? Could you have I mean, you want people to get hit with a car when they cross the road?
That would be the problem. Not really. I don't think you'd want to do that because it'd be too much of a chance of somebody in the traffic passing back and forth getting hurt or something like that.
Very busy road, right? Very busy on Lake Street here. And this beautiful house on our right, just to the south of the Anchorage, another landmark in the village of Rouses Point. It's now the home of Mr. and Mrs. Don Johnston, and it was formerly Elmer Johnston, who worked at U.S. Customs when I first started, and they just added this garage in the back, the 2-car, and then an addition on it, and another fixture, and they'll have the Anchorage back to them again here on the side.
And before that, it was a home of William Shaw, who was also Customs.
Is that right? Before he built it, then?
Yeah.
Shaw built that?
Shaw had a house there, and Johnson's built this one.
Oh,
but
Johnson
the house that was there was moved. But it
Moved
was
to another
William Shaw.
location in
It
the
was
village.
William Shaw's house.
Where's that building now? Have you any idea?
I did know, but I can't remember.
Can't remember now. Well, Scott, we want to thank you very much for giving us the opportunity, number one, and for giving us your time to come in here and tell us what's going to happen to the Anchorage, and the people out there are going to be very happy that the Anchorage is coming back, and coming back so soon. And it's going to be another place to come, and maybe we won't be here for evening meals for a while, but they'll be here for luncheons, I'm sure. And the ladies like to go out for their luncheons, you know, even when they're not working. They like to, you must have 4 or 5 ladies. They like to group and come out. And at this particular time, you're not taking any parties or anything like that. There'll be nothing like that in the near future.
Not until we get in operation again, and then we know exactly what we're doing.
All right, and you'll have, I assume, big flyers out when you open, right?
Oh, yes.
They'll be all advertised again. And we assume, I'm assuming, I'm not asking him because I'm not sure he knows either, but we'll say it'll be after the first of the year, and you'll be back and getting some breakfasts and some luncheons here at the Anchorage, and you'll be back, huh?
Sure.
All right. Will you still have an organ like you did before, playing? Not at luncheon.
I have no idea.
Don't have that planned yet, huh?
Not yet, no.
All right, and that's about it from what's going on here. Bob Venn, our guest today. Peg Barcombe, first of all, giving us the history up until the time that Joe Rallihan sold it to Scott's father, Percy, and his mother, Rita, back in 1960. And we've been here today to show what's going on today, right today, as they're putting up the forms. It just arrived, and inside you saw the pictures of the 4 views of the new Anchorage restaurant and bar, the Marine Bar that'll be here in early 1991. Thank you very much for tuning in to Hometown Cable every night, and particularly with me and our show called What's Going On here on Sunday evening. And we're trying to bring you shows that would show you what is going on in our community. Landmarks, a tour. We had a big tour. We're going to see that coming up in the next couple of weeks. A 2-part series on the Delagar equipment. Delagar equipment, that's great. It's been a long day, and but Delagar, we were at Delagar yesterday for over 5 hours. We got about a 3-hour show. It's going to be in 2 parts, and there'll be consecutive weekends coming up. I think it'll be early in October. So please tune in for that. You'll see an awful lot of people talking on TV, and it's on every night at 5 o'clock, again at 8 o'clock. Same show, 1 a.m. in the morning and 9 the following morning. And we really appreciate your comments when you see Calvin and I on the street and the people that we've interviewed. Don't forget to tell Scott you saw him and you saw Peg. Tell them you saw it. They're going to be surprised, the number of people who are watching this show and how much they appreciate it. And thanks very much again, and good night, everybody. Hi, welcome to the third portion of tonight's show with What's Going On. And we're at a very, very important place here in Rouses Point right now, and we're a rebirth of the Anchorage motel. Has been here, of course, the dining and the cocktails, and we have the people right here. I'm going to have you listen to them as they give their own name.
Rita Perry.
Rita Perry. And
Marlene Bosley.
And
Scott Bosley.
Scott Bosley, yes, the owners and operators of the restaurant, which is going to be opening. The restaurant isn't. The bar and grill is.
We'll open first, and the dining room will be following within a couple of weeks.
Okay, when are you going to have this grand opening?
The
first one, yeah.
The 23rd, which will be a Thursday.
Okay, so Thursday night, pack in here, and you'll find out you didn't make it big enough.
You're right.
Okay, so the fire was when, Marnie?
May 29th.
Of last year, huh?
That's right.
So you're just under the year.
That's right.
That's great.
Uh-huh.
And Rita, you were operating here since 1960 or 61?
Right, 1960.
60, huh?
1960.
So
31 years.
31 years now, and what do you think of the nice new building,
I
huh?
like it.
It wasn't like when you started?
No, not at all.
But with everything, you lose something, you gain something too. The way to do things here will be easier maybe than what you had before.
A lot easier on the help.
A lot easier on the help. It's going to be easier to keep clean,
Right.
and everything else, right? You're going to have a little bit more parking. All right, so we're just going to be going inside. I don't know if Calvin wants to get any pictures of the outside, and we find out which way we're going to go with this. The bar will be opening on the 23rd, and the restaurant within a week or two afterward.
2 or 3 weeks, yeah.
2 or 3 weeks, and then you can come back to your Anchorage.
Right.
We'll be right back.
We seem to be good luck for Scott and the family here. The last time we were here, if you saw that show back in the fall, that's a material that they've been waiting for arrive as we were taping, and now the awnings have arrived here. Still a lot of things left to be done, a lot of finishing touches as we're taping this on the 14th for showing it to you on the 19th. So there'll be changes from when we're taping this to when you are able to see it when it's finally done. But we wanted to get this on before the 23rd so people will know what to expect when they do start coming back to the Anchorage.
We're inside of the bar. We're going to call this the lounge. I don't know these words. We're inside of the lounge, and we are facing. I am facing northeast, and you're looking down toward Plattsburgh, this back of this wall. And it's hard to visualize this if you've seen the previous pictures. Calvin's taken a little spin around here, and I've noticed you got all the nice new tables. Everything's all set up. And you can seat how many in this area?
About 60 in this area.
60, and about 60 in your restaurant area also?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You could serve meals in here also if
yes.
you have...
We're planning on serving in here also.
You are going to do that?
Yes.
All right. The bar is beautiful here. Calvin can swing onto that. And who did you say doing your woodwork?
Bernard Duquette.
Bernard Duquette did all of this, and it was done in his shop and brought here. A piecemeal and put together.
Yes, there's a lot more pieces yet to go up. There's molding to go on, trim molding, but in essence, that's what it is right now.
Did your architect design this for you?
No, this is done through us, really.
You designed it? Could you picture that, Marty, before it was up?
Well, I saw a picture of it, so yeah.
You saw it somewhere? I think it's somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay, because I just can't do that. But and you said it's all oak?
Oh, you're right.
All oak here, and the chairs along the bar. And one more thing, let's talk about that over in the back side here, the window.
That's about one of the only pieces we got out of the old Anchorage. That used to be right next to the entrance that went downstairs into the island.
Okay, that was part of the Anchorage. You've kept the motif relatively the same outside. You got your, I guess Calvin took the pictures and showed the carport that comes in. And you're getting your old employees back yet?
Pretty much.
You're going to get
some of them have found good employment at other places, but we've got a lot of the old staff that are coming back with us.
Okay. Tell us what you want to tell us about what's going to happen here around the 23rd and after the 23rd. What are your projected plans?
Well, when we open up on the 23rd, it's still going to be pretty rough. It's going to be a couple, 3 weeks to maybe a month before really everything is in place, but as we can bring things online, we will. But we want to at least have the lounge open and start working our office over here and showing people what we've got here and get ready for summer, which is right around the corner.
Yes,
So-
yeah. Reservations coming in good for the summer?
Yes. So it's going to be a busy summer. I think everybody's going to be watching the construction outside now.
Let me tell you, if you see the cars between here and Champlain on that Route 11, unbelievable traffic, and they got to stay somewhere. Have you noticed the increase in traffic along Route 11?
Oh, yes.
I'm depressed when I ride Route 11. I don't need all this traffic. And people laugh. They said, it's nothing compared to the cities. I said, but I don't live in a city.
Right.
But it seems like a city. Right at 10 o'clock this morning, it was that way. All right, so then you will get into your food and full course meals within 2-3 weeks after you're figuring, right?
In June sometime.
Yeah.
I'd say mid-June we should be pretty much on.
Okay, will you have an ad in the paper then? You
Oh,
expect to
yes.
have an ad
Oh,
that
definitely.
people out there will know when they can come and get their meals, Marnie, right?
Uh-huh.
And Marnie, well, you won't tell, because you've been working in the office over there while you're waiting, huh?
Right.
We saw your office. I just went up and saw your office up over the
Pretty
in
nice
the cupola. Oh, you want to believe it? And it takes a lot of time for paperwork, right? And you
Yes,
spend a
an
lot of
awful
time
lot
up
of
there.
time. Rita and
right?
I are going to be up
Yes,
there for hours.
And you can lock that door up there. No one can find you, huh?
yes.
It is beautiful up there. It is great.
Their little hideaway.
Yeah. Yes. All right. What else can you tell us about plans? Anything different you're going to have? You're going to have any kind of different menu, or are you going to?
Well, the menu, that's still being talked about right now, but as far as banquets go, we aren't going to be in a position to do banquets, I would say, for a good year. Outside of, small groups of 20 or 30, we can do that. But any large weddings like we used to do, the 150s and like that, that's all downstairs and nothing's been touched down there. So that's a good year down the road or so. So we will eventually be into banquets, but not for a while.
I don't know if you ever kept a list of people who've had weddings here over the years, including
we
my
did.
daughter.
Yes.
And I talked to Mary Rasco, and I think they had she had something here years ago for one in her family, and many others.
Rita has records that go back to
way back when we first started.
1960. Yeah, there's a book for every year.
It's too bad you can't just make a list of those and have it somewhere up on the wall. Maybe some people don't want to know. It would be great.
Pretty big list.
It'd be great to have a list, and just look at it. People would come in and it'd be a focal point. Yeah, well, I don't care if you just type it or print it, but it would be, it's a history of the Anchorage, and it's been here for many, many years, and you've been here for close to many years, 30 years.
31.
31 years, amazing. We were neighbors back in the 50s, right? When the children were growing up, yes. I think you were the second house down, I guess, from where I was. All right, Marnie's, your daughter. I missed your daughter today. Where is she?
I'm sure she's missing being here. She's at school.
She's at school?
Yes.
I really enjoyed the interview with her. And you were standing there like the proud papa that you are when she was talking.
I like the part of when you said, are you married?
Yeah.
And she didn't know what to say.
I never got that reaction from anybody before. Usually they smile, but she was indignant when I asked her that. Huh? All right. We'll take a short break and we'll come back here. We're at the lounge at the Anchorage, and we'll try to get some pictures maybe out in the dining room and find out what else that we're going to cover here. And who did all the interior work was done by other than Jules. Jules stopped when...
No, Jules,
they've
done a lot of the interior work.
Like the floor?
That was done through Gregory Supply.
Okay, that's different.
But a lot of the trim that Bernard Duquette has made, Mike Tran has been installing it, the windows and the moldings and everything else. A lot of Jules' people have been working in all different aspects to this, really.
Yeah, it's going to be a great landmark for Jules over the years. That he built this here, and because people are just waiting to get back in, as you know, Rita. All right, we'll be right back. You're watching Hometown Cable. This is Bob Venn with What's Going On Here. And it's on every Sunday night at 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 1 a.m., and 9 the following morning. Hometown Cable's on every night at those same hours. Basketball, sports, meetings, what have you. If it's happening, you're going to see it here on Hometown Cable. Calvin Castine and Company. Be right back. I'd like Calvin to take a picture of those two doors because I just got a lecture. And I want to tell you about this. If anybody watched the show we were here before with Jules and watched it as close as this guy did, I commented that I would go in the right door and come out the right door, and I was the other way. And there must be a reason. I just got the reason. Because when you go in this door, when you go back in the kitchen, the sink is on the left, and you can put your dishes there very easily. And the stove is over in the far corner, and you'd come out the door, and you don't have to crisscross.
You never cross traffic patterns because you get some unusual collisions.
All right. Well, I just thought it was unusual at the time. This man picked it up, and he's been waiting to tell me about it, and I'm certainly glad he did. There, that put you on the spot, didn't I?
Cleared that up, didn't we?
Okay. Thanks, Scott. We're going to look at what the dining room looks like right here. Calvin is taking some shots now. We're at the south end looking north with the, from looking at the picture, the lake is on your right. And we'll let the ladies tell us a little bit about the decoration and what goes on in here. Rita and Marnie, let me get in between you here. What's your plan in here now? I understand there's more coming in here. And Marnie, you want to start out?
Well, there's more plants coming in. Well, actually, more plants. We're getting plants in here. There's going to be plants along the windowsills. None of the tables are set up right now, for dining, but that will come.
Will there be tablecloth or not tablecloth?
We'll be doing runners with
You'll be
napkins.
runners?
Yes.
What's a runner, Rita?
Well, it covers half of the table
It covers
anyway.
all right.
Right?
The part you spill on.
Right.
All right. Okay. What's the color in here?
It's a Victorian rose with a jade-colored carpeting.
See, I wouldn't have been able to say that, Scott. I wouldn't have known that, right? I wouldn't have known that at all. And you certainly got a lot of windows. Who does the windows? You do windows?
No, I don't do windows.
We
Rita?
don't do windows
Scott,
now.
you do the windows. Okay. And these are all nice brass fixtures, hanging lights here. There's 3, 4, 5, 6 here, 7 hanging, and I don't know how many along the wall, probably
Quite a few.
15 or more. And people who watched this before, you remember we had the big white boards along here. They were making the gouges to put up and down in front of the windows. You've probably seen them when you go by.
That's right.
And they're doing the front lawn. They're getting the ground ready. And it's going to take a little bit more time to get it back to where it looks like it is finished. But I'm sure you're happy to be along this far, right, Scott?
Yeah.
Huh? It's been a long time. And it would seem funny to get money coming in rather than just going out.
Seem good. Seem good. Yeah, it's been a long year.
It sure has.
It's been fun.
But you know, that home on that corner, the Johnstons, and then the Anchorage have been fixtures here in Rouses Point. There's not a more distinctive corner, I don't think, in the community of two things that people always remember. As I told you, I met somebody on the plane just coming on the way to North Dakota that mentioned they'd been through this area, and they said they had crossed the bridge, and they said there was a very fancy hotel. And I said, well, there's only 2 hotels. I mentioned Anchorage. They said yes. They hadn't stopped, but they could not forget it because it was such a beautiful building. And I said, well, now we've got a new one going up, and inside, they're beautiful people, and it's going to be beautiful inside, and here it is. But, of course, beauty has nothing when you go to eat. You have the good food coming back, right?
Yes.
Now, who is your cook?
Well, we have Jim Robinson.
Jim
who will
Robinson.
be joining us later on.
He's your same, was he be here before?
No, he wasn't here before.
Okay,
Joe Sagan will be our manager, taking care of the food bar.
okay. So, but basically, you can expect the same food plus others, or you don't, that still be
There'll be
the...
some changes. We want to try to improve on the menu a little bit, and we've got a lot of things we want to experiment with.
Will you have breakfast?
Oh,
You
all-
always have
all-
breakfast.
all 3
All 3 meals,
Breakfast,
right?
lunch, and dinner.
All
Yeah.
3 meals. All right. Will you have to have a tie to come in?
Of course not.
Of course not. But it looks like a tie place when you come in here.
Comfortable.
You sounded the same way as your daughter when I asked her if she was married. Of course not. Right? Golly, I shouldn't have ever asked that. All right.
Informal dining.
It sure is nice. It sure is nice. And you can also bring a drink from there out here. There's no restrictions on that at all.
And we'll be serving food in the lounge
You will be
also,
serving
so-
food in there also. And what else you got planned? You got flowers coming in. Rita, do you know what else is going on in here?
I don't
We've
really
pretty
know
well
of
covered
anything
it?
else. I think just about it.
And that will just...
Tables-
Pardon?
Tables will look a lot nicer.
They'll look nicer
set
when
up
you
and-
have the things put on.
Right.
Well, listen, when my wife takes off on vacation, I clear the table in the kitchen. I don't want things to move every time I use the table. She gets a little upset, and if you're watching Teresa, she's gone again. When she comes back, she's going to see the table just like this when she comes back. Now, this exit is only an exit. You don't come in that door at all. Okay. All right. All right. Talk about your business. How much of your business, if you can give me an estimate, is local in Rouses Point, and how much from outside the area, food-wise?
Gosh.
Any idea? Half?
I
would say about
Half?
that.
Of course, the Anchorage people come in, and the local people here all come in, and...
Different seasons, it's different, too. You know, like in the winter when people don't want to travel as much, it's more local.
And I'm sure the motel brings a lot of business, too, because that's why you get motels, because they want a restaurant.
Right.
And you've missed that. You've had a good year as far as the motel, though? It hasn't hurt it as far as not having the restaurant?
Oh, it's hurt us. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They don't have their coffee in the morning,
Okay.
you know.
All right.
Yes, right.
They do complain. They want that coffee, huh?
Most people like to wake up start in the morning, you know, or especially if they're going to be doing any traveling, rather than have to go out and have breakfast.
Okay. Do you have any problems this past weekend? There were all the big article in the paper about the power being off on Mother's Day, but it happened on Saturday, right?
Right.
So it didn't really cause as much of a problem?
Well, we had a wedding group stay.
Oh,
here
that's
that
what, I did
canceled,
see that, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, they canceled all the rooms.
Yes, I remember you canceled another one way back, the Zerlo wedding, I think.
Right.
Remember that way back? I remember that at the wedding, just after the fire.
In the morning,
Of course,
and
of
they
course.
take the showers and
And
everything.
I'm sure you'd have done the same if you were
That's
traveling,
right.
you know, the same type of
Go to a
thing.
wedding, you
That's
want to
the
get up and be cleaned up
convenience
to
of getting
look
them.
right.
Well, I was told if you send a bill for that to the village, they will look at it. They will look at it.
Right now and type one up.
Well, let's not get him angry here with the village, or the village angry with the Anchorage, but we're kidding, of course. But it did make the papers, according to what I'm only reading what Steve Manor put in there. That's all, right?
Well, one thing I have to say, though, is through all this building of the hotel and everything, the village has been very supportive to us.
Well, tell them right out there, thank you.
I just said it.
Oh, you're telling me? Tell them. Hey, look right out there. Thank you, village.
But they have.
They have been very
The
good.
village people have been very good. Timmy Linkort, Bobby Clark, Benny Arnold, they've been great, really. So that's what really helps when you're trying to bring in your services, your power, your water, and everything to get support like we've got. You know, so
That's great. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about, Rita?
No, not really.
Nothing at all. She just don't want to talk on TV. That's a lot to say, I'll bet. Marnie, anything?
I just hope people will come down and see us.
Okay, get those old customers back and a lot of new customers. Okay, we're going to close out this portion right here. Rita's got to run and do something, and so is Marnie, and Scott wants to check somebody, and thank you very much for talking with
It
us,
was
Rita.
very nice.
Nice seeing you again.
That's right.
Right.
Okay.
And Marnie, nice seeing you. Because if you have a son-in-law, you know, my son-in-law and daughter met here at the Anchorage down.
That's right.
He was downstairs in the bar, and she was a waitress, and then they had their wedding here, and I thank you for that. And if they weren't getting along so well, I would maybe hold it against you, but I'm not. They're getting along very well. Thank you very much for that. And we're going to come back with maybe a couple of the employees and talk to them here also. You're watching Hometown Cable. Stay with us, please. I'm very, very comfortable here behind the bar because there's no drinks here. I'm not a person who drinks, and I don't get near bars very often, but I'm here with a man that wants to talk to me. And your name?
Joseph Seguin.
Yeah, Joseph. And what, you work for the Perrys and the Bosley?
Yes, I'm coming back as food and beverage manager.
Okay, and you say coming back, so how long have you worked with Anchorage?
This time around 4.5 years. And they started me in the business 20 years ago.
Been around a long time. He doesn't. He's not as young as he looks, is he? He's been here for 20 years altogether.
I'd like to hear that.
I'd like to hear that. All right. Okay. So now, what does it mean to me and the others out there when you say food and beverage manager? What does that mean?
Well, I'm going to be in charge of the bar and the bar staff, the dining room and the kitchen staffs. I will be working with the bartenders, the chef. The ultimate responsibility will be on my shoulders. I will also be tending bar for a while until we get things on our feet.
So you're telling me that the people that at work at these various spots you just mentioned if they got a problem, they don't go tell Marnie and Scott or Rita, they tell you, more or less, you're in between there if they need something?
I'm kind of an intermediary in this area.
You eliminate all those problems. Marnie don't have any problems at all, except Scott, right?
I didn't say that.
Oh, no, well, look, she's smiling over there. You want to get that smile. Look at how well she smiled. No, she don't want to be. All right. Okay, so 4.5 years this time, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what, do you do the ordering, too?
I will be involved in that. I'm in the initial ordering and all that. I'm in charge of.
Marnie gonna let you go up in that nice office up over up there?
They've even said I could have my own drawer and a file cabinet.
Is that right? Well, that's worth something, huh? Right there. That's a perk for you.
Really?
Okay, and you're from Rouses Point.
Originally, yes.
Right. How are you related to? Don't tell me he's your dad. To Desmond.
Desmond's my father.
My God, your mom
we have
and
the
dad.
same haircut, yes.
How is Dad?
Well, he's getting along a lot
I
better
saw him
now.
recently here. I was in one of the stores and I came across him. As a matter of fact, Russell Thompson out there asked me about Des. Did ask me about him when I was out there. I told him I had seen him just recently. So you're from Rouses Point, and you like Rouses Point, and you still live in Rouses Point.
It's a nice little community.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
All right, so what can you tell me? What's going to happen on here now? Will there be bottles here?
These will be bottles up in this area for use by the bartenders in both workstations.
There'll be 2 people behind
we
you?
can work 2 people at a time, yes.
Okay.
And I hope it's busy enough that we need 2 people.
It will be. It always it has been. There'll be more. You know, one thing you got to remember, when you're upstairs rather than downstairs, people can be seen more up here. They may not want to be in here like they did before. Downstairs, they were pretty well hidden. You didn't go by and see them in the bar.
Well, the lights are relatively dim in the evening.
Okay, all right. Well, we're at the Anchorage, and this is our 3rd time here. We came over before it was started, the day that the forms came for the cement, when we talked to Scott and his daughter, I forgot her name. Megan, yes. And then we were here with Peg Barcombe then we came back and we talked with Jules and saw the construction. We heard about your nice new heating system on the floor. And then now we're back here just to show the semi-finished, nearly finished. All the trim is up and ready to open up unofficially the 23rd, and then within a month we're full steam. Thank you very much for talking to us, Joe.
It's full more.
Okay, we're up in the office, I think the most beautiful spot in the whole building. And it's, look at the windows. There's 5 big windows up here, and then there's 4 in each section. That's 20 windows right here in this little, what is this, probably 16 by 16 with the indentations around to make the octagon shape. Octagon, and it's going to be your office, Myron.
Yes, it is.
Yes, ma'am. And let's see, you've got the same rug as downstairs, and the look out, Calvin's looking out toward the motel now, and then that's Rita's home right next door. And then you're looking north, and then you can see the lake all around, and so you'll be doing the office work for the motel and the restaurant and bar
That's right.
here, correct?
Yes.
Ordering and everything else as such.
Payroll. Rita takes care of.
You do all your own. You don't have any employees for that section.
No.
The 3 of you do that,
Right.
or work at that, right?
Uh-huh.
All right. What else can you tell me then? We've been here for close to 20, 25 minutes, and we've appreciated talking to you again, Scott. And we wish you the very best of luck at your opening here informally the 23rd, and formally later in June. Is that correct?
Right.
All right. And Marnie, anything you want to say? Say hello to Megan for me and tell her we missed her.
I certainly will.
And she still hasn't any thought about getting married.
No, I hope not.
Was she ever upset when I asked her that? I never had that reaction before, and I probably used that 6 or 7 times. Okay, don't forget that Bosley's and Rita Perry, stop in and say hello to these people and tell them how much you've missed them during the past year. And although there's no big banquets, 10 or 12 or 20 are welcome. They can take care of you, take care of them all right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, anything you want to say in closing other than that?
Pretty much covered everything.
You're a man of few words.
I know it.
Huh? All the time, Marnie?
No, not all the time.
Right?
Not all the time.
Well, let's see what you have in closing.
Okay.
Anything?
Well, no, I just hope everybody does come down and see us and see quite a few people, friends, on the 23rd.
I'm sure you've missed seeing those people that were in here, regularly.
Yes.
They eat here.
Well, we have a
practically
lot of people from Canada, Montreal, and that we haven't seen because of the...
Yeah, they drive down to
restaurant.
Montreal to eat? Oh,
So
did
it'll
they?
be nice to see old
Yes,
faces.
it would. A lot of the people, I assume, from the boats also
That's
come
right.
over, right? They'll all
Yeah.
be here. Okay, we've been at the Anchorage for this short tour, one of the 3 segments you've seen tonight, and thank you for watching Hometown Cable. What's Going On Here is a program that was devised by Calvin and I, and we've done about 60 segments and so far, and you've indicated that you like this sort of thing. If you have any ideas, please let me know about them, and or tell Calvin, and we'll see if we can make that kind of a appointment to see those people. We have 8 or 10 others in the works right now that we're planning, but we keep changing times. Always something comes up, but we're working on a couple, and we're going to do one with the Girl Scouts this coming Thursday. And we're thinking of the northern blacktopping, let you see how you do blacktopping and why it's important, and what you should do to your driveway, homes and otherwise, and several others that are very close to being finalized. Thanks for watching Hometown Cable every night. We appreciate it. And don't forget, if you're not a patron yet, send in your $12 and become part of Hometown Cable's family.
The finishing touches are going on the Anchorage in Rouses Point. Tune in this coming Sunday as Bob Venn takes us on a tour of a variety of spots in the North Country, including the Anchorage Motor Inn. That's this Sunday on What's Going On Here with Bob Venn. Tune in, please.
To the side. Hi, Bob Venn with What's Going On Here. We just finished an interview with Peg Barkram, our town historian, and Scott Bosley, one of the Bosleys from the Anchorage Hotel. We've just made a survey of the history, the back, the present, and the future pictures of the new Anchorage, which is being built right here on Lake Street in Rouses Point. It'll be on this coming Sunday night. Please stay tuned when you get it on, and it'll be on 4 times. It'll be on at 5 o'clock, 8 p.m., 1 a.m., and 9 o'clock on Monday morning.